but I was under the impression that it's going to be a very important part of the render. So if I try to model it, I could probably make like an okay model out of it, but it will look a bit fake and artificial, and I really wanted this to stand out, and which it does. Good evening, welcome back to In the Khud. 4 days I took off. That's for a very good reason, and that reason is what I'm going to try and cover in this video. I spent the last 5 days, 4 days I did not record because one was Sunday and I usually don't record on the Sunday, but I took 5 days off because every single day there was just a little bit more left for this project to be done, and I was under the impression that I want to complete everything and then get into documenting it. And today again, because it is let me tell you what time it is. It is 4th of July 2023, 7:23 p.m. I'm super late, and that is just the nature of the full-time job because I'm always late and I'm always running like to somehow reach the gym. 7:30 I'm supposed to reach the gym. Okay, no problem. I'll see what has to be done about it. But this is something that struck me, that this is just the mind trying to procrastinate every single day. So I'm going to try and whatever I can in the next 5 to 10 minutes, just put something out there for this video. But first, we're going to see the video because this is my first 3D environment based render, and of course, I'm very happy with it. So let's just play it. I'm gonna keep VLC smaller so you can see the whole video, and you can hide this, and let's go. I'ma be the best that you never had me kick back when you fake like that. Get out of the game, I don't play that fact. Would you let me go? No, you never come back. I'ma be the best that you never had. Let me go, no you never come back. Okay, even though this is an AI video, we'll try and explore the trend of AI, and in this case I've used Stable Diffusion with Deforum to create this kind of lot of things happening stuff. My concern was not AI, like I spent, I don't know, like 3 hours or so making that AI stuff, and the entirety of the last 5 days was spent in making that beautiful 3D environment that you saw in the beginning, and the 3D animation, and a lot of things. I'm going to open my Notion tab. Any project which is at this scale, if you will, there is always a ton of things that I learned. So modeling, I learned how to make ridges on caps. So if you see the bottle has ridges on its caps. I'm going to try and see if I can run the Blender file. There are 4 versions of the Blender file, and that's because primarily of the landscape. There's a lot of things I learned. Now what I'll have to do is I'll probably have to solo things out because there's too much happening. There's too much in this one scene. This is how it looks, by the way, without the mountain and the trees are there mid-ground, which is the ocean and the mountain, and then there's a sky texture behind. So the entirety of the video is this. You don't need to, like once you're in solid, it's okay. I'm gonna come here and make this. What are these pomegranates doing here for? Okay. Was I think what pomegranate tree, fruit, this collection. So I was talking about ridges. If you see this part here, it has ridges on it, so I understood how you can model that. And again, because this video is going to become very long if I try to show everything, now I basically learned how you make ridges or any sort of surface, be it cap or whatever. That's one thing I learned about modeling. The credit for that is this video. If you want, you can just watch this video. I will also do it myself at some point to show you. So I'll put the links for these videos in the description so you'll get an idea of how to do that ridges thing. Okay, then the next thing was tree with leaves. If you see that this took probably a good 1 or 2 days, and all these time where I was working on this, I just did not go to the gym either. So it's like super focused on getting this done. So this tree is made by the tree sapling generator. If in your it's a Blender generator. If you're going to curve, it says sampling tree generator, and I have instanced these pomegranates onto this using geometry nodes. So I'm going to the notary structure here, basic distribute on points situation, instancing on points. But one thing which was very important is the selection, right? So this is something I really need to document on how I figured out what the selection should be for these fruits to show up. So a lot of trial and a lot of experimenting, but it's basically a normal node being less than this value. So if I was to show you a live preview, if I take this less than value and increase it, you will see that the fruits are populating all over the tree. which is not something that we want. So it's about fiddling and getting that right value where the trees are only on the edges of the branches. Again, it's very random. So what you can do is you can try messing with the seed, which I have put in here. So fruit seed, you can try fixing this, like if some weird places are coming up. But this is one beautiful thing. And then again, this the credit for this is this video by Noise VFX. Noise. Okay, that was the second thing that I learned. The landscape was entirely done by the ANT landscape, which is again a Blender built-in add-on. You don't believe the amount of things that Blender gives you by default. But the bigger thing that I feel I figured out here is the shading. So the shading for this mountain is completely done. Understanding the shader from the course, Master 3D Environment, CG Boost. And I'm so glad that I bought the course. When I bought it, the last video itself, I was feeling a bit like, why am I spending? But no, it's not just an incentive to do, it is so much more. Again, my point, it just stays that all these courses, there is no harm in buying them, because once you buy them, you keep them forever and you get updates forever. But more importantly, my perspective is it serves as a very good encyclopedia. The things where if you were to go to YouTube or like just type it on Google, it will take you hours and hours to figure something out. But in these courses, especially by CG Boost, all of it is so well organized, and most importantly, you get the blend file and the zip of the textures and everything that is used by the instructor himself. So it just makes life so much easier there. So buying courses, if you're thinking, especially if it's from CG Boost or some good site like this, don't think too much. If you have the money to invest, of course not everyone can like pour $80 into courses, one course like this, but I am in a position where I can invest that much. So a lot I understood about rendering, because it was so much in the background that it did not have to be so heavy with textures and everything, which is why I had to like take out all the subdivisions and reduce the size of the textures from 4K to 2K. There was a lot of process in that. So that was modeling. Scattering with geonodes, extremely important to apply scale of the object that is being scattered on the surface. Okay, so if you look at, let me now try and, geonodes. Let me now try and shut everything else and just keep the ground open. Okay, I'm shutting mid-ground. So only the ground is here. Now this ground is a geonodes tree, and it's a big one, not big one. Not as compared to the Elysia building that we did, the 3D moving building. That was awesome. But the principles, right? In the last video, I remember talking about GIS add-on, which allows you to scatter things automatically. I'm really not a fan of that, because it doesn't give you like 100% control over the situation and everything. So mesh displacement on a mesh, like everything from scratch. One thing that I obviously learned from Kaizen tutorials video itself is you need to scatter layers to make it realistic. So if you see what layers I have, initially I had thought distribute grass base, but I ended up ignoring that completely. Distribute dead branches. So if you were to look at this part, if I control shift this or alt shift, so you see on the ground I have dead branches scattered like this. All of the scattering is happening through vertex group, which are going through a named attribute into the selection socket of distribute points on faces. Now the second level distributing is of dead leaves. If I was to just see this, you see there are dead leaves, and purposely I've gone into the weight paint mode and painted out the areas where you cannot see. The geometry is not missing, no? Is missing, yeah. So I've purposely painted out areas where the branches wouldn't be there to just create some sort of like interesting things. And then finally I distributed these pomegranate seeds, which I bought. I did an investment also for this video. I think it's there somewhere, I'll get to it. Mega scans, there's a lot of issue with the bridge add-on, and when you click export on the bridge add-on, it just won't, even with your port being the right one, it just won't send assets to Blender. So I figured out that sometimes it just sends across materials and not like, especially for plants and stuff, it doesn't actually send the mesh, it just sends out your materials. And if you see the Blender, I'm sure you're not understanding what I'm saying. I will try and make a detailed breakdown of this, but that's been if you look at history, every time I've thought I'm going to try and make a detailed breakdown, it's not worked. But we're not going to go into that, the rabbit hole of that. We're going to hope that I can make some sort of detailed breakdown of this video. Having said that, I'm going to move ahead. That was mega scans, then making material transparent. The most important thing to do is, if you were to look at the tree, you see that the tree has transparent texture on it. if you see the boundary here, it is actually like a paper thing, but we have your leaf showing and there is transparency. And the way you figure that out is extremely important. Is for that material, you come in here and leaves revised. Okay, you want to come in here into the settings, and inside your viewport display, you want to make blend mode alpha clip or alpha hashed or alpha whatever. I never understood what this setting meant, but this setting is for this purpose. If I was to make it opaque, you're gonna see, interestingly, this is still working. You're supposed to not work. Alpha blend. Maybe they don't have this material. Leaves have what material on them? Leaves revised only. If I remove this, yeah, you see there are those textures. You can't undo. What a blender. Then landscape texture mixing, something that I showed. Fog, compositor magic. So you see in my video there is fog, right? You see there is fog. It feels like this volumetric fog, but no. What we've, the shadow layer, I kept it there. A mistake I've spotted. But anyway, this fog, there's no volumetric in this. We've done everything through compositor, and this compositor magic is through Reinhardt King's video. I will try putting that in the description as well. But yeah, what's amazing is it just takes a lot of time to like fit, reset. Yeah, it doesn't show for some reason, I don't know what. Like, fit, reset, backdrop, show bro. If it could show, I would show you how you make this, and then the limits, you set limits inside your camera. Again, you're probably not understanding whatever I'm saying. Anyway, rendering, AI dynamic rendering, viewport render first. So this is very, very important. I don't know how long, 12 minutes already. Let me show a little bit of it. So the way I rendered this video out is very important. What I did is I came into After Effects, and let me just shut everything here. And I made one viewport render. Actually, I made 3 viewport renders, and I worked with that. So if you look at my viewport 3, I'm gonna bring this here, and this is what I initially had. Okay, so I rendered the viewport. How do you render the viewport? You come in here in your layout and you say viewport render animation. So this is just renders whatever is in your viewport without any textures, any materials, anything. And then this is what I used as a base. I used it as a base for all my for setting the timing for everything. I had done a brief kind of storyboarding in my mind that for the first these many seconds we're gonna just stay, like you see HQ is like human question pops up on the screen. Then from here you start panning down. Okay, if you see the markers, you just follow them. Over here the AI answer pops up. Then from here it stops, and then here the zoom in starts. So once I had figured all of this here in your, if you hold down control and click here, you get your frames inside After Effects. Once I had figured that out in frames, then I knew how long I need to render the foreground, the background, and the midground. So then I made passes. Like if you were to look at my composition final renders, there is panning end, which is the pan out in the end. There is a mid-ground. Again, I separately rendered out mist and original. So I'll just show you one thing here. Inside the compositor, over here you can put a file output node, and when you come in here, you can add an input here. So your original and mist, it will be stored in different, your passes. Basically, if you come in here and you see your render passes, combined and mist, they will be separated, stored in separate folders, which is very important. So if I come in and show you any of my renders, final, let's say the background, you will get one which is the original, which will be inside here. So this is the one with the mist. Okay, this I did, I think background plus midground. You'll get this, and inside passes you're gonna get just the mist map. I don't know how you would use it, but I think you can do some form of things inside After Effects or any compositor with this. And then there is also the complete original without any mist. So if you wanted to overlay that and reduce the opacity or something using this mask, you could do that either in After Effects, or again you could do it in Blender. That's completely up to you. That's again one beautiful thing that I learned. Then yeah, that was AI dynamic rendering and viewport render first. Wave effect, this is something I have to go about. This will probably take a lot of time. Simulation scale doesn't matter. So for that liquid thing, right, when you're zooming in, I was thinking that we could do simulations to make the liquid realistic, because it's a juice company, so they're very concerned about. Okay, by the way, I haven't gotten feedback yet. There might just be feedback saying this is not working, that's not working. Internally, everyone seemed to like the video. But I was like, maybe you can make simulations for the liquid or for the juice, but that did not work. I spent almost like the entirety of Saturday maybe trying to figure simulations, or Sunday, but then it did not work. But the few things that I learned was scale doesn't matter, but to actually see the simulation, you need to increase surface emission of the object from which simulation is coming, and for collision to properly happen, increase the surface thickness of the effector object. Again, at some point I will show how this works. Wave effect, I spent a lot, like 3-4 hours trying to figure that wave effect happening. I could not figure out, and then I did a very kind of cheat thing to make it work. Like you see, there is actually a wave happening here. You see this wave is what I'm talking about. Was the preview at, yeah, if I play this, you see there is this kind of wave thing happening, and it seems like such an easy thing to do with a mesh, right? But no, it's not. It took a lot of time to figure that out. So that was that. And Sketchfab pomegranate model. This model that you see, this model I bought off of Sketchfab. So it came with textures and everything, but they were not plugged into the right sockets, and it required a bit of knowledge of understanding how shaders work and everything to get this to work. And then from this model itself, I took the pomegranate seeds and then scattered them on the floor to add a layer of naturalism to the whole environment. And then the chat GPT thing, even here I learned a few things. I made that today only. These motion graphics which are popping up, you see that there is a bit of transparency behind. So what I primarily learned is how, again, it was like a refresher of how you can use Luma mats inside After Effects to affect transparency, and how you can have this kind of I think they call it glass morphism effect with drop shadow behind or whatever. But in the end, I ended up deciding not to do it and just put like a white background behind, because it was not being readable for some reason. Yeah, and this model cost me $9, so 800 rupees. But I was under the impression that it's going to be a very important part of the render. So if I try to model it, I could probably make like an okay model out of it, but it will look a bit fake and artificial, and I really wanted this to stand out, and which it does. So yeah, that was an investment worth doing. Again, with this whole process, I'm not shy of investing money if it makes my art better, and you shouldn't be either, because there are a lot of good 3D models you can get for free. But if you want real quality models with these kind of realistic textures, then you have to spend a little, and I'm okay with it, no problem at all. So on that note, again, I've just flown through this video, and even then it is 20 minutes long. I'm not going to render this or edit this now in the thumbnail. I'm going to come back from the gym and do that, but because I want to rush to the gym and not miss my workout. I've been doing that the past whole week thanks to this project, but and thanks to rain in part as well. But anyway, my mouth is starting to go dry because I've been speaking continuously for the past 20 minutes. I will try my best to make a proper breakdown of whatever I've learned in this video, making this project, and I'll come to you in the future episodes of In the Khud with that quality information packaged together. That's it. Thank you so much for being in the Khud. I will catch you tomorrow. Peace.